Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you're happy watching this Risco in Tokyo, coming at you with, well, I said we were gonna do a behind the scenes of some stuff while I was on break, and that didn't mostly happen because break wasn't really a break. We'll talk about that. But I did want to do at least one behind the scenes episode, and I did want to take a look at the train level. First off, like, super big thanks to everyone. I don't know why the train level struck such a nerve with people, caught people's attention the way that it did, but it's got like 1,256 plays on it, and I don't know, like, I'm not ragging on my own stuff. It's not that I don't think it's a quality level that doesn't deserve that number of plays, but it's more like I didn't really promote it all that much, and I certainly don't think I promoted it to the extent that it would garner that much attention, but it did, and for the most part, like, response has been really positive to it, and I'm really glad with how everything turned out. So I figured, yeah, we'll take a look behind the scenes. It's so ugly, but sometimes the most beautiful things are ugly on the inside. If you've ever I was gonna do an autopsy joke, but I'm not gonna. But we're gonna go behind the scenes, so we're gonna see you there. See yas! Choo-choo! Alright, so here we are backstage where the magic happens, the magic of having to do many takes of this recording, because everything's been cursed, and I keep on finding things that I need to explain that I haven't explained, and anyways, so this is a very ugly build. This is a very ugly project, and I'm going to probably strip everything down and rebuild it from scratch moving on in the future, so that's a little bit easier for me to work with. And I think the issue here, what happened was a addition of late stage ambition that really changed the parameters of the project and required a lot of like workarounds and kludging, whereas had I gone with my original intent, my original idea, it would have been much easier, because honestly the original idea was it was just going to be a static train scene with the infinite scroll, the parallax moving in the back, and that aspect of it was really just straight taken from Comforter MC's LBP tutorials, number 8, infinite scrolling and wireless analog signals. It's a great it's a great tutorial. It's like only 9 minutes long, 10 minutes long, and I've watched it like a million times. I love the effect. I've used it in a number of sets over the years, and it's something I like to come back to. And so the idea was we're going to do like kind of a lo-fi study girl kind of deal, where I was going to be sitting on the train, and there was going to be the parallax was going to be moving in the background of the different story mode biomes, locations, and I was going to do like 7-10 minute videos of those that were going to highlight the different interactive music for each of those biomes, and it was just going to be like nice and easy. And really the only thing that I changed from Comfor's design was the addition of the randomizer and having these extra bits, because in Comfor's design it's just like one piece for each layer, basically. And I figured, well, I mean, it would look a little better if we kind of mixed it up a little bit. Let's turn it on so we can actually see it. And so the randomizer is always on for 0.5 seconds, and it spits these out, and as they're moving, they'll hit that green bit of sticker material, and it's going to trigger this impact sensor that's going to speed it up really fast so that they'll all clunk together, so there'll be no gaps in between them. And then once they're past the sticker material, they'll take an analog signal from this tag sensor that will tell it how fast it's going to be going or if it needs to stop. And I was doing that here, where we got like a 75% battery, we got a 50% battery, we got a 0% battery. I tried doing it at 100%, and for some reason it just it broke the level. It made it, I don't know what the issue was. Like, it seems like there's a max speed that I could get these going out before they started getting really weird and like gappy and things like that. But I figured, like, so I get all this set up and doing the train. Okay, so the train was, I need to say, the train was kind of haunted, and I don't know if I've got any recorded footage of this, but there was a deal where, like, if I would change something in the train and then I would rewind, it would just erase the entire train, and I have no idea why that was happening. But like, the train is just a simple set. I do those all the time for the show. I could have made a new train, and because I've got these objects are still in the field, they've all been saved into the emitters, but they're in the field, so if I make a simple change, or if I make a huge change to the object, the emitter is going to spit it out just the same. So I figured to myself, well, like, I'll set it up like as the gardens, and then I can palette swap basically and take out everything over the glass and, you know, make it Savannah theme, and then change the background and change the music, and it would just be the Savannah. And you can see how the changes have been reflected already, where, you know, I set it on fire, and now it's, you know, each piece is on fire. So just doing that, we could, for example, let's say what Savannah is got. Where's our sponge? Where's like Savannah sponge? Why am I doing this now? I should have. Anyways, you know, we changed the material, and now we've got this kind of. I need you to stop for a second. Tunnel, I need you to stop, okay? But you can see back there, like, you've got the Savannah themed material there, and you just change the bits on top, and you've got like a completely new environment, but all of the logic is just the same. So it's like a template that you could just modify the template and just do it for each setting, each biome. I need to turn that fire off because it's going to be like really annoying. And had I stuck with that, like, it would have been pretty easy, because, like, yeah, there's the changes in daylight, and basically with what's going on with that is every time that the tunnels are through, and it'll trigger these, like, the tunnel lighting, and it'll trigger that echo. And people really seem to like that echo. Like, that was Kronos' idea, and it was a fantastic idea, but it wasn't mine. And then once it's not reading the tunnel tag, and the tunnel tags are all on the tunnel pieces over here. Once it's not reading the tunnel tag anymore, it'll go into the flash counter, and the flash counter will cycle up to the next daylight change. And it'll we've got it over here. You've got like this little bit will make that little the flash that happens when you come out of the tunnel, and it's like the light is over bright because you're in a dark place, and it kind of flashes up like that, and it would spawn a new set of characters in there. And the characters weren't originally kind of like intended to be part of the level. That was something that got added in later when the level parameters kind of changed a little bit. Originally it was just going to be me and the cardboard bestie, and like just very, very static, exactly almost like the lo-fi girl, the lo-fi study girl. But when I decided to publish this for the players, we'll talk about why I decided to do that. And I was like, well, let's make it a little bit more interesting in the train car for the players to have something to look at. And I was like, well, who would I want to spend hours with on the train? And you know, my friends, of course. We've got Kronos 453, who's one of the earliest supporters of my work, is just a great all-around guy, somebody I appreciate both as a human being and also as a creative, as somebody who does art and does levels. I've got to have Kronos there. I've got Hive, who is in the Lab Rat OC form, that they helped me make this costume over on stream, and Holly as well. and Holly helped me make her costume on stream, and like these are some of my best friends, and I would love to spend a lot of time with them. So I was like, yeah, like we'll put them in the level, and which started to make things a little bit of a lot because we got all these emitters, and before I had the changes in characters, and the level was saving fine. And then once I added all of these emitters, and just as a note, so like when they're not receiving the signal from the time selector here, then they'll get a destroy all to get rid of the old set and spawn in the new set. But once I started to add in those characters and the extra costumes, and the thermos started to creep up, and I was getting this notification that like you've got too many bits and bobs in this level and it's a problem, you're not going to be able to publish it. So when I redo this level and do it for like the actual YouTube project, probably is just going to be me in the train car, and that's a little bit sad, but it's also like probably going to make for a smoother experience, at least a smoother build, because it was kind of a lot setting up all these characters and getting them saved into the emitters and changing the poses and the animations and everything. So, you know, there was all of that, but really, like, even though this looks like a lot, when it was on the automatic version, when I wasn't planning to have players interact with a level, and it was automatic, like there really wasn't a lot of issues with it. You just kind of set it, you jump into the level, and I could do the recording, and it was just like it worked fine. The issue was a friend of channel and wonderful all-around guy, Supam, who runs the LBP community level footage library, which is an archive project similar to the Little Bite Size Archive. And if you are not following Supam, I super encourage you to do so. His archive is really great. He does very high quality work. Somebody I appreciate both as an archivist but also as a friend. He's a really good guy. But he had asked me on stream, he said, like, why don't you publish some of your hubs, you know, as levels and let people experience them, because you do a really good job with your hub work. And I was really touched by that. I think people have suggested that before, but I don't think I was really in a place where I wanted to do that, or I felt confident in doing that. But I guess the stars were right, and I was like, it kind of, the idea struck me, and I was like, yeah, you know, like, I got this project on the side, why don't I set it up? I didn't really expect it to get the attention that it got, and to, you know, catch folks' hearts, maybe, in the community. But like I said earlier, we're at 1,200 plays, and so it seems to have done something right. So I was like, yeah, let's do that. Like, I could use this project, I could publish this for the community, and maybe they'll like it. But having come to that idea, and I was like, well, if this is just a YouTube video, and, you know, you could put it on in the background and listen to the music and just kind of glance over it from time to time and appreciate the scenery, but, like, you're not really focusing on it. You're not, like, in it. Usually you're watching YouTube and you're doing something else on the side. Like, YouTube is the side, is the BGM. But if players are going to be in this level, and I would like to give them a little bit more control over their experience, and maybe they will enjoy that more. And oh boy, let me tell you, did that add in all sorts of interesting and new complications that needed to be fixed, because the way that this was set up, and it's set up off of movie cameras, because I really wanted to have the flat effect. You know, when you there's a setting in the movie camera to make things look a little bit flatter. We can go to one of the movie cameras and peep it here. But we've got like flatness here, and it gives like a little bit more dead-on look while still retaining a little bit of depth that you can't do with game cameras. Problem: if you've got a movie camera running and the player is like spawning into the level or spawning because they've died, but the camera is not on the spawn point. It's not looking at the checkpoint. Can't see the player. The player doesn't actually spawn into the level. It's really weird. Like, the level still runs. It's like it's expecting you to spawn, but for some reason you just don't. So I was setting it up, and I would do like my tests of the broadcast chip logic, and everything would work fine in the level here, and then I would go into play mode, and suddenly nothing worked. None of my inputs would input at all, and I could not figure it out. And I kept on doing all these changes to the logic. I tried it with like a controlinator, and I thought, like, well, maybe if I wire everything up, maybe there's something that's like screwing up the signals being sent around, which is an absurd idea, but I was like, well, I don't know what else is going on, so I'll try that. And, you know, I tried different, like, stats in the chip and in the controlinator, and I tried, like, all these different setups, and they were all just, like, interacting really poorly because I wasn't understanding that the issue was simply that I wasn't there. It wasn't until Hirunda mentioned it kind of offhand that something like that happens, and then I did a little bit of a test where I put in a player sensor, like right next to the checkpoint, right next to the starting checkpoint, and I wired it up to a light. So the light should have turned on as soon as the level started, and it didn't because I wasn't there. And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird, but, well, now we gotta work around that. So I ended up setting it up with a game camera, because the game camera doesn't have that problem. And then when they're at the menu, it would be on a game camera, so they would definitely spawn in. And then when they would hold O to go down into the train, and then it would turn on the movie cameras. And the movie cameras are set up, it's so weird, like it's a sequencer set to positional, and then we've got these counters to tell it like what hash mark to be at, and I don't know why I did like this. Because I was clever. Because I was trying like 1,200 different things, and I had the cameras on the selectors, but it was causing issues with, like, it would like freeze on the camera and then it wouldn't move for some reason, and I don't know what was going on, so I just did it like this. And the problem was that when players would pop themselves, and this is something I hadn't thought about. You can't think about everything when you're making levels, and it was just it was like a concept, like, why would you pop yourself when you're in the train? Like, there's no hazard, like, you're not stuck. There's a mechanic that lets you leave the level by going to the scoreboard by holding L1, so it never occurred to me that players would try to kill themselves in the train. But they did, and it would try to spawn them up here, because that's where the checkpoint was, and they wouldn't spawn because the movie cameras were on, and so that was breaking the level, and it took me forever to figure out, like, what the heck was going on with that, because it didn't occur to me that players would kill themselves. So eventually what I needed to do was I needed to put, let's see if we could find it. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? No, seriously though. Oh, you're up here. I needed to put a player sensor, and it would go to a follower with a 2-second delay, because I found out if I did the follower immediately, that the checkpoint would zoom over to here, hello, the checkpoint would zoom over to here, and in the middle of zooming, you would spawn, and then you would just drop out of the level, and that was silly. So, like, a 2-second pause, and then the checkpoint just kicks over to where the scoreboard area is, and then the player can just, if they decide for some reason to kill themselves, they'll just spawn over the scoreboard. They're outside of the range of the cameras, because I set up the cameras to have a turn off if the player's not being detected. The workarounds that you've got to do, but eventually I did end up getting it to work, and we've got, like, the O button will start it, and once the O button's been triggered, it would also open up, like it would turn on these microchips so that when you're on the menu and you can't actually use like the indoors outdoors camera change or turning on the UI, but as soon as you leave the menu, it'll get a signal that'll turn on those chips, and then you could do those things. And then if you try to go to the scoreboard, because I didn't want them to screw around after they've decided to go to the scoreboard, it would sense a tag and it would turn this off. It's an inverted tag sensor. But yeah, like adding in all of these things and making sure that they worked and nothing was going to break, and it was just such a pain in the butt. There's little pauses so that players wouldn't spam the like time changer and the speed changer, because that could sometimes cause the level to break. We've got different tags to let us know when the UI needs to be displayed. Like these tags will come and they'll tell the oh god, did I close you? No, I didn't. They'll tell the sequencer like where it's supposed to be, which camera that it's supposed to be on, and they will also combine together and tell us which UI tag needs to be triggered, so that if the camera is currently focused like inside the train and you'd have the UI, this one would turn on, and if the camera is focused outside the train, this one would turn on. And all of these have got like they've got opacity tweakers so that when you're looking outside the train in photo mode, that everything would turn opaque. And I forgot to put those in my first run of Sackbots. So when you would look outside the train, all the Sackbots would still be floating there in frame. It was very cute, it was very amusing, but to fix it meant that I had to do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sackbots for 4 different time settings, so that's 20 Sackbots that I had to fix, and that sucked. That wasn't great, didn't like that. That's another reason why maybe I will be thinking much more clearly when I do this for the Savannah and for the wedding and all the ones that, because I still want to do this project. I'm still really interested in this project. I need to take some time off. I was going to do it like one every month, but then the build time that I would have used, because you know, it was supposed to be just kind of like relaxing. That's why I set it up as a template, so that I didn't really have to do like a super focused build. I could just do like a decorative build with swapping the materials, and it would just be like nice and cruisy. But then the flag level happened. Can we talk about that really briefly? The whole kerfluffle about why the flag level got made was exactly and only 3 flags and a trans symbol on one of the randomly appearing tunnel pieces, a single trans symbol on one of the randomly appearing tunnel pieces, and zoom, 3 flags at the scoreboard. That is the extent of queerness in this level, beyond the fact that the entire level is just vaguely queer because I'm a queer person and I bring that energy to the table in everything that I create. But that was it. That was the extent. And some people really didn't like that. It was weird. It was quite a response, like that they would go through the one kid, like things nobody does. Actually, God mode glitched into the level so that they could cover up the flags with X stickers and then post a picture of it to the level so that everybody could see what they had done. Also, they glitched the scoreboard, which that legitimately did kind of piss me off. The sticker thing was kind of like, really, dude? Really? Yeah? So, like, I decided to do a cheeky little response that went from being a cheeky little response to actually something that I was having a great time building, and I was like, you know what? Screw that, dude. Let's just make this a level of queer joy, and let's make this like a call out to other queer kids and other queer adults in the LBP community and say, hey, you know what? Like, it's cool. The world sucks sometimes and people don't like us for just being queer, but I love ya. I'm rooting for ya. I support ya. And we can have fun. We can be weird. And once it turned into that kind of project, I became something that I really wanted to do well. And I feel like I did it well. We're going to talk about that in another video, because there's a lot of things to talk about for that. But the practical upside, or perhaps downside of that, is that the month off from create mode that I was supposed to take, just relaxing, turned into a month of relatively intense create mode, with a lot of focus and a lot of emotional investment. So I'm probably going to have a bit more of a gap between this level and the Savannah level that's going to come out. But the Savannah level is going to come out, and the weddings level will come out, and the canyons and all of those levels. I still really want to do them. I really like the idea of the project of, doing these different videos, and I want to have changes in the music. The music in this level was static, just because I felt like I already had a lot in here, and to add in like 5 music sequencers and think about like how to set them up so that they would best reflect like the scene changes, and it was just like I wasn't sure if I had the thermo space. I mean, the thermo space is fine, but like that warning that this level's getting too complex, that was worrying me. So I wasn't really sure if that adding that much extra music was going to be a good idea, but also like I just didn't have the spoons to implement that the way that I wanted to. But like the idea of doing one of these levels for each of the story worlds and then editing all of them together as like one big 70-minute video, like that just seemed really cool to me, and I really want to do that. I am proud of this level, as ugly as it is, and it is heckin' ugly. Like, this is just such a mess, and it can be done. I could do this much better, especially now that I've got like a really clear idea of where I'm going with it and what I'm doing with it. But like, I am proud of it. It's a good level. I'm glad that people have enjoyed it, and a lot of people have enjoyed it, and probably fewer people have enjoyed it than have played it, but that's just the way these things work out. But yeah, like, this is cool. Shout outs to The Empty Room for putting up with me when I was making this. Super big thanks to Supum for kind of pushing me in the direction of doing this level, because like it wasn't gonna be a level really until Supum had kind of piped up and said, hey, take a gamble, try it, see how it works out for you. And I'm super glad I did, because that wasn't a pun. That was not meant to be a pun. I'm really glad that I did, because yeah, like, it's cool. It's a cool level. So I think that covers pretty much everything. There's a secret. Like, almost all of my levels have a secret in them, and I'm putting The Empty Room in like everything I build these days. I'm there. I'll talk to you. There's a block here. Originally, this block, which I reference in dialogue, say grab this block and just get out of here, because it was supposed to teleport you back to the scoreboard area, this train station area. But it didn't work, and I don't know why. And it was like, I really wanted to get the level published, so I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna trigger the teleporter like directly from the sequencer with a battery, and that'll just do it. That'll be fine. And it did work out fine. But it does mean that some people, I'm sure people are like grabbing this block thinking that it's gonna take them back where they're supposed to go, and it's not. It doesn't do anything. The block does nothing, just like the goggles. But I've probably rabbited on long enough. I've just talked your ear off, I'm sure. And if you played this level and you liked it, that makes me really happy. I hope you did like it. And if you didn't, like, I can't help you. I'm sorry that you didn't like the level. It didn't work out to be the way you wanted it to be. And if you're somebody who got like all twisted into knots over these flags, like, Look, I'm really sorry. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Fuck you. Just, deal with it. I don't know what your problem is, but you definitely need to sit down and have a heart-to-heart with your heart. But yeah, I think I've said everything I need to say here. So, from me, Isko, here in Tokyo, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you, arigato, sayonara, see you, and ciao.